Okay, so let's start. I would like to say hello to everybody and thank you for being here today. So today we have this event which is taking part between among Callisto and EAAP. This event is also taking place in the context of CoCo. CoCo is an EU Horizon project focusing on wildlife and pastoralism that brings together 17 partners from at least 12 countries, and this consortium is led by Inland University. Today's workshop will try to investigate on technologies for coexistence among the technology for coexistence among livestock and large carnivores. This event will take place and coordinated by my colleague, Dr. Dimitrios Bormpoudakis, who's be also the coordinator. Dimitri, you can have the floor.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having will have a relaxing afternoon. I'm Dimitrios. I don't know who is here, so perhaps we can you can sort of start by maybe typing your are really interested in sort of learning your interests, why you're interested in this webinar, and which sort of industry or which part of the livestock, sort of the animal science industry you come from. So I think you can chat. You can use the webinar chat to sort of, if you feel like it, to sort of introduce yourselves, maybe, and a bit about your interests in this sort of webinar, in this webinar/workshop on emerging technologies. As my colleague said, we're interested in sort of sharing what we learned about emerging technologies for human carnivore coexistence, with a focus on livestock, with a focus on pastoralists, with a focus on people mainly in Europe that work with livestock, cows, sheep, goats, and that sort of usually we're trying to see how we can sort of make them coexist better with livestock and reduce the amount of conflict we see across Europe between pastoralists and large carnivores, and that includes mainly in Europe bears and wolves. So this is our main sort of interest here. Today, we're going to talk about the work we have been doing within this project CoCo that tries to assess emerging technologies for human-wild coexistence, produce a typology for these technologies, and see what we can do to make them more widespread across European landscapes. The structure of today's webinar is a presentation first, where we'll present what we have found in the year that I've been doing this project, so almost a year and a half, and it has 1.5 years more. And we're interested in hearing from you about technologies that you've used, technologies that you find interesting, why you find them interesting, how they can be, how pastoralists and people working with animals can adopt them easier, like see them, use them, test them, why they might use them, what they find useful in these technologies, what they find practical, what they don't find practical. And that's the second part of this webinar. So first, it's going to be this introduction to emerging technologies. And then we're going to have a small sort of workshop. I know you cannot sort of start speaking, but we have set up a Mentimeter. It's an online sort of tool that can help us interact with you. So if you have any difficulties, any issues with what I'm saying, please sort of write them in the chat. My colleague Alexandros from Callisto will monitor the chat, and I will be able to sort of respond to your concerns or to your issues. So now I will start with the presentation. If everybody is sort of okay, I will start sharing my screen and the presentation we have prepared for today. Tell me, I mean, can you see my presentation screen, Alexandros?
Yes, everything is all right. Everything is all
Yes.
right.
So just a screen, no sort of and nothing to bother you, just my sort of PowerPoint presentation, full screen, right?
Full screen.
Yes,
Okay,
full
that's great.
screen.
So, I mean, this is you can see that the subject of today's presentation. I'm Dimitrios, and I work for Callisto, and this is one of the series of workshops and webinars we do for various stakeholders in this space, the space of carnivores and pastoralists. This is the second seminar we're doing in this series. There are more to follow in the future with scientists, farmers, more sort of focus on bear scientists, and what you're saying today sort of informs the next presentations and next workshops. So we're going to talk about technologies today, and technologies for coexistence, for human carnivore coexistence, are really rapidly sort of have increasing development sort of phase. New technologies are being introduced all the time that do a lot of things. Some of them do a single thing. Many of them do a lot of things at the same time. These are just some examples. We're not related to any of those companies or institutes that produce this type of technologies. From sort of computer vision and AI on the top right, to geofencing system on the top left, to more sort of peculiar things from Japan. You see the wolf at the bottom left, the monster wolf, like not a robot exactly, but like a moving scarecrow, let's say, that produces noises and visual sort of deterrence, all the way to more more integrated systems like the Earth Ranger on the bottom right, that allow for monitoring, alert systems, coordination, and many other things. They coordinate drones, rangers, automatic systems. It's a huge sort of platform that it can be extended. And these are mainly these may refer to larger landscapes and not just sort of a single farm or a couple of farms that the rest of technologies that you can see here apply. Now, this sort of technological space has been evolving for quite some time. These are just this is a slide sort of about the evolution of technologies. You can see sort of this paper, it all starts from camera traps in the 60s, which is still an emerging technology for livestock farmers. I mean, it's automatic camera traps are still sort of actively being sort of spread and diffused in the pastoralist world, all the way to drones and sort of more bio batteries, mapping molecular movements, sensors, and the Internet of Things, like in our sort of days. Now, from these technologies, according to a big survey, it was published like some years ago, what scientists found more useful, and that's sort of our distinction here. We are not focusing on scientists, we're focusing on primary producers, but what scientists found more useful is machine learning and computer vision, eDNA and genomics, sensors, protected area management tools, drones. You can see the graph here. I mean, it's really mainly computer or IT related technologies, almost all of them. Okay. Like if we exclude the DNA and genomics, most of the technologies are related to recent advancements in computers, information technology, hardware, and these are what scientists find more helpful. Now, this technology space is pretty big. Huh? I mean, and that's something I want to highlight. There are many companies out there, big companies, including big companies, like the ones you see here, that are actively developing some of these tools or are actively helping develop this type of tools. Okay, maybe they don't have teams, maybe sort of big teams working on AI and computer vision, but some of them do. For example, Microsoft has developed this suite of tools, which calls a collaborative deep learning framework for conservation, that are free to use. And you can see that's pretty sort of 70,000 downloads. They produce useful tools for doing conservation with carnivores. And you can see that there are some sort of emblematic species for conservation that are interested and highlighted in these advertisements or in these web pages. Now, nature tech is is becoming a big thing, both in terms of its pluralism, like various types of technologies, from like just now emerging to those that have been piloted, tested, and are now at the scaling phase. So they're spreading across the world through various companies, consultancies, state agencies, etc. I mean, the most advanced, I would say, and according to this sort of report, is forest carbon measurement and verification. I would say that technologies specifically dedicated to human pastoralist, to carnivore pastoralist interactions are not here, I would say. They have a very small footprint at the moment, but they are emerging, including by some of the companies that we showed in the earlier slide. You can see some numbers here for all these technologies, of course, and some sort of highlighted companies by these reports, recent reports. I mean, not like last year or 2 years ago. You can see that some nature tech investments amount to 7.5 billion in 4 years, 2018 to 2022. There is an increasing trend in the investments, venture capital funding, as they say in nature tech, in the last sort of 6 to 7 years. They have like venture capital funding has doubled since 2019 up to 2024. And some of the big companies here in this space are Nature Metrics in the UK, which does mostly in the eDNA. There are some sensor companies like Dryad Networks, and there are some companies that sort of use sensors, remote sensing, and other things for forest management. This is a space that I think is going to see increasing funding and increasing usability and increasing sort of better tools, and we think that there is space to make these tools more relevant for pastoralists and the livestock space, the livestock world. And that's why we're doing these workshops and seminars with you. I mean, the same thing, but broken up by category. You can see that food and agriculture takes up a lot of space, but again, most of these technologies are not related specifically to carnivores, okay? Now, from our review, this is what we've been doing for the past year. We found more than 1,000 studies that are working on technology and human carnivore coexistence. What I want to highlight here is that, again, things that you might expect, of course, are the most studies are about camera traps, GPS collars, genomic analysis, risk mapping, which is very sort of popular nowadays. And these are this is the space of emerging technologies in science, in the scientific literature. In terms of tools, in terms of the reporting, in terms of reports and what is highlighted in sort of reports and scientific reviews, we can see that again, it's artificial intelligence and digital platforms and satellites take up most of the space, and drones, of course. And in terms of tools, again, the same sort of idea, always a bit camera traps are the most, camera tracks and biologgers and GPS tracking are the tools that are being developed and are currently available in these three databases that we looked at: the Inventory by Wild Labs, Conservation Tech Database, and Conservation Tech Directory. This is what we found. And this, we think, represents what is out there that is related to carnivores. Okay, I mean, this is part of our research, and we think it's important to have this documentation of what's out there and what's interesting, what's being developed, and what's been tried to be diffused to the space of dealing with carnivores. Now, out of all these reviews we did, we read all these papers, we cataloged all these products, we read these sort of reports, we cataloged these technologies into 5 functions. It's a typology of technologies according to the function that they have in the human-carnivore coexistence space. And we have cataloged them into 5 functions. And this is a slide that I think is very central to what we're trying to do today, because these are things that the technologies are trying to do. One of them is detect and track either livestock or wildlife, carnivores and livestock. They're either trying to deter, avert, or protect from carnivores, like smart fencing, smart deterrence, and all these sort of things. There is a function of technologies that are useful tools for livestock farmers and protect dairy managers to help them decide about things, decide where to put fences, where not to put fences, decide where it's a risk area, where it's not a risk area, but this sort of decision support tools. Then there's deliberation tools and technologies that can help people deliberate about issues. They're not just sort of about decision making from a single sort of entry point, from a single decision making point, but about deliberating about decisions. And then there is a very really interesting sort of type of technology that has to integrate technologies from all the rest of the functions into a single sort of integrated system. This is how we catalog them, and this is what we're trying to revise. This is a typology that we have developed, and with your help, we are revising and we're adapting, and we are trying to make it sort of suitable for talking about technology, pastoralism, and carnivores. This is one of the goals of today's seminar and of the CoCo project. Now I'm going to go through all of them. I'm going to give you some examples. Some of them you might have heard of. Some of them might be new to you, depending on your background, depending on what you're used to. So this is what we're going to do now. So detection technologies is a very interesting space. It's one of the most developed spaces. It uses mainly sort of computer vision and AI on video and camera images to detect animals, detect species, and also detect even in some cases, individual animals. So that this was a bear that attacked this livestock breeder yesterday and attacked another breeder 2 days later. So it's an individual detection method. All these technologies depend on a lot of things. Computer vision and big data is one of the things that the software sort of technologies that depend on. But then from hardware, we have all this sort of hardware that is used to accomplish the task of detection and monitoring. These are some of the technologies that have been developed. I mean, everything is cited. You can ask us where to find this thing. We will reply in the chat or in a couple of days. But this is things that are out there and that are actually sort of operational. The idea is, I mean, if for those that are interesting, that you can take a camera or a smart camera. The camera can sort of detect either the camera or a remote computer can detect if an animal is there. It can recognize the animal even instantly if it's a camera, and then we have the detection and monitoring sort of system that there is an animal there or which animal, specific animal is there. There are many technologies out there. This is a very active development space, and it's even sort of integrated with large language models, as you can see in the top left. So, like asking ChatGPT, but like very quickly in a massive sort of scale, what is the animal doing there in this picture? Is it eating, moving, or resting? And a vision encoder model can answer this question. I mean, these are all technologies that a few years ago might have seemed like impossible, but are now being developed by universities, companies, labs, even smaller companies and labs across the world. The same thing can happen. Like a very interesting thing is the animal-born edge devices like accelerometers or even cameras on animals, livestock animals, and using again machine learning tools. The farmer or the person managing a larger area can understand what this animal is doing. Is it running, or what this group of animals is doing? Are they running together? Are they running at the same time? Do they have an increased heart rate? Maybe they have seen a carnivore around and they're running from it, and then we can sort of use this information for many other sort of decisions at a later stage, but even for scientific reasons, using these animal-born edge devices. Now, this is something that many of you might have heard of. It's sort of smart deterrence technologies, smart aversion technologies. They're typically, they can include sort of detection elements, but their function is not just to detect. Their function is to produce a deterrent and aversion sort of signal. It can be noise, it can be a visual element, it could be an alert to the farmer, but these are all technologies that sort of essentially what they do is they use a system to detect the animal. It could be an AI system to detect an animal with a camera, with a video camera, with a camera trap or whatever, and then they trigger an automatic system, and that system can deter or avert the animal from being there. Many such tools. I mean, there are some of them you may have heard about. I don't want to sort of advertise them. I just have them here. Again, we're not related to any of these companies or labs producing these technologies. So this is sort of one of the things, like a pipeline for how it works, but I already sort of explained it a bit. So if emotion is detected by a camera, The camera takes a photograph. If the camera understands or detects a carnivore, then it sends an alert to the farmer. That farmer then can activate a defense mechanism. I mean, very quickly, like in 2 minutes. And then there is a really sort of emerging technology, which is robots for deterrence. It's not very. I mean, we did a survey for 1,000 farmers in Europe. We didn't detect anyone using robots for this or testing or piloting robots for this type of use or function, but it could be something that we could see in the future. So we recorded here as something that we could see in the future. Then there are decision-making tools. These are typically like a computer or smartphone-based system. It could be just a map. It could be a map that incorporates alerts. It could be a map of where conflict is based in an area like the one they have in the US in Montana. It could be a risk map in the Kanat Tiger Reserve. There are many applications of this type of risk modeling, let's say. Another sort of useful thing about related to decision making is this smart technology that does a lot of things. It allows you to do strategic planning, data entry, analysis, and feedback and reporting. I mean, these are all tools that help, maybe not, that might not help sort of a single farmer, but they could be produced for areas and they could help sort of community decision making or collective decision making or sort of state decision making or protected data decision making by the managers of these spaces. And I think it's a very useful extension, let's say, of these tools. And finally, not finally, I mean, this is an interesting technology. I use this term technology here a bit in a fuzzy way because this is about technologies that allow for continuous co-creation and adaptation. And that's a way of doing technology that allows for the people, for community members to have more of a say in how this technology is developed in their community. And that relates to the second part of the presentation today, which is about sort of some of the social aspects of using these technologies, which are really important and we shouldn't forget them. But these tools allow essentially for community collaboration, inter-farmer collaboration, farmer pastoralist collaboration, so village scale collaboration or community scale collaboration. And that's sort of an interesting thing to think about with these technologies. And finally, we have these integrated technologies that do a lot of things. They can do alerting, they can do detection, they can do deterrence, they can do a lot of things. They are pretty bigger in terms of what they can do, like big flows of data, big integrations of different tools like computer vision, digital twins, cameras, drones, but in a larger system. And the challenge here is how that applies to single farmers. There is an issue of scale here. So unless someone is a very, very big farmer or pastoralist, this type of tools might not be suitable for them, but they could be suitable again for someone who is a protected area manager or a farmer who can use elements of these tools, or a pastoralist or livestock breeder who can use elements of these tools to employ them in a relatively big farm. And I have this video here and this image, and you can see all this type of different integrations, like from animal collars to vehicles, IoT systems, personal trackers, weather stations, software, data services, and these are all integrated in a single system, which is called Earth Ranger. But even on the right, a smaller system, you can see some of the tools that are required for this tool to run: drones, camera traps, receivers or radio or LoRa receivers, like a lot of tools related to sort of carnivore, to reducing carnivore conflict in sort of in this particular human life coexistence context. These are the technologies that are out there. Again, there are many reviews, scientific reviews of what these tools can do for us, understand the world, act in the world, evaluate our impact in the world. There are a lot of things that we can do. They can help us in understanding. They can do a lot of things. I'm not sort of going to go into all of them here. That's not what we are here to do. I mean, there's not enough time to do it like they can. It would take a lot of time for us to do that. But what we are sort of interested in, and that's the second part of the presentation, is to evaluate these technologies in practical spaces, like in practice, not just in the abstract, what they do and what they're supposed to do based on scientific papers or based on company sort of brochures or based on sort of limited pilots. We're interested in how these technologies are applied, because some of these technologies might have some negative or neutral, let's say, or some side effects. I'm not going to say negative or positive. They can have some unexpected or expected side effects. And this is one of the quotes that I found very, very, very useful here. It's by a philosopher of science, a sociologist of science called Kranzberg. And that's what he said. He said, technology is neither good nor bad, but nor is it neutral. And this quote continues, we have to look at how technology interacts in different ways with different values and institutions, and indeed with the entire sociocultural environment. So the idea here is that none of these technologies are good or bad. None of them can save us, and none of them are sort of the worst thing that ever happened to us. But neither are they neutral, but they have to be evaluated in practice, in specific social, cultural, and natural environments. I mean, that's the idea, and that's what we're trying to do here in the second part of this webinar. I have this very nice slide. I think I found it roughly a year ago, and it's like this person that's trying to shoot a computer. It's from the late 90s, and I like to imagine, I mean, it's not real, but if you can see in the background, there are some bears sort of in a picture frame there in the background. So I can imagine someone working in a protected area management office or a forestry service and being sort of frustrated with all these tools. And we are not sort of taking this stance, but as I said before, new technologies always create new situations. And to avoid creating these situations like this, that I'm showing here, like people being disappointed or being sort of frustrated or being angry even at technologies, we have to be careful and look at the whole social, cultural, political, and natural environment before we go forward and sort of deploy them. So, and that's another slide I'm very fond of. Different users have plural needs and they understand legitimacy in a different way. And this is an IBM slide from the 70s, I think, 79, like that in the early sort of computers, like when the computer started being able to do interesting things. This is an IBM slide from 1979 that said, a computer can never be held accountable. Therefore, a computer must never make a management decision. And that relates to what I'm trying to say here. decisions are usually taken by people, and different people have different and different stakeholders, different types of users have different needs and understand legitimacy in a different way. For example, farmers or pastoralists care about the predictability of the method, how much effort does it take, how fair it is, if it's low maintenance, if it's fast to fix. Protect data managers might care about the lawful authority if they make a decision based on a tool, on what the tool told them, if it covers a big area. Now scientists care about different things like replication, open methods, bias control, while citizen scientists or communities might care about different things such as agency, transparency of the decision, like that they all share the benefits. So what we learn from these sort of ideas is that every technology implies different things to each community, to each stakeholder group, and we have to design technologies for multiple needs and different legitimacy needs, in different ways people understand the world out there. So this is a really sort of important idea that comes from this sociology and philosophy of technology framework. Now, a lot of people are trying to deal with these things, not essentially in the space of human carnivore coexistence or livestock carnivore coexistence, but in the wider sort of technological turn that societies have been taking the last sort of decade or so. And this is things that the World Economic Forum identified as governance gaps. So lack of regulation, the adverse effect of technologies through misuse, the liability and accountability if the technology misfires or misfunctions. A very big issue, essentially, especially in Europe, is privacy and data sharing, cybersecurity, who supervises technologies, both in the field, but also while they're being developed, who understands the technologies also, to be able to supervise them. And in the more difficult sort of the geopolitical world we live in, like cross-border issues and sort of restricted data flows, restricted technology flows that are sort of cross-cutting technology governance gaps that are really so important when we try to think about technologies. And a huge thing that hasn't been resolved, especially regarding these type of technologies, is why farmers use them and when. There's a huge literature out there, and this is just a part of it that we have been doing. So what types of variables influence the uptake of technology, of sustainable agricultural and livestock practices, not just technologies, but sort of agricultural livestock practices that are sustainable. It seems that there's no, like across the world, and you can see here there are many studies here that are involved in this review. There are very few, how can I say, very few characteristics that can help us understand if a farmer is going to use a specific technology, a specific practice. Only education seems to have like a mostly positive sign, but that's mostly, and whether the area of the farm is in an agritouristic farm or a nature conservation area. I mean, these are the main sort of, the only three characteristics that give a positive sign, and livestock units, that with increasing livestock units, people are less sort of inclined to use sustainable agricultural practices is the other one. So there is a lot of work to be done here, especially regarding the technologies that we are interested in. We are doing this work, and you will see some of our results in the future, but we are doing this work trying to find out when people adopt this type of technologies. We think it's a very important field of work. If these technologies are going to be sort of better diffused in the animals in the livestock space in Europe. And this is the end of the presentation for today. We can take I think we can take some of your questions now. If you have any questions,
Dimitri,
I'm happy to.
Dimitri, can you hear me?
Yes.
Dimitri. Okay. There is a question that came up in the chat. If you can see it, it is the last message, and it says, "What
Yes.
can you say about the data security and ethical data management in the pastoral area or very remote environment?"
Well, this is a very crucial issue, and I know that it is something that many, let's say, organizations, either in universities or private or companies or sort of smaller labs, are actively trying to look into that and find ways to make data more secure. That's certain. And there are many sort of interesting developments. Some of them might sound, again, sort of a bit far-fetched, like quantum encryption. But there are others that are sort of easier to, I think that might be easier to implement, like so the blockchain. But I think the more crucial issue here is not how technology can solve these issues. I think that's the interesting question. Is the building these socio-technical environments using co-design or using co-development of methods with communities, with farmers, so that these issues arise less often. I think this is for me, and I cannot see the full name of the person that Tesfaye, that's all I can say. That's all I can say for now, that this is a very important issue, and it comes up especially when these technologies has come up in previous, for example, seminars that we've done about surveillance in rural areas. Like if you start installing camera traps and video cameras in rural areas, there are issues related ethical data management and forested environments, and because these are environments where people live. I don't know if I answered the question. I think it's a very important question.
You can
I can see the other
guess,
question. Yes.
lovely.
We are open to collaborations always. I can type my email here. We cannot have this discussion now, for sure. But Jericho, this is my email. This is me. You can send me an email. If you're interested, you can email me here. And we can discuss about how we could collaborate in the future. The other question by Daniela. I think the question of educating small farmers is a very important one. I know from Greece what's happening. We do a lot of work using various methods, both sort of particular like both in terms of using education tools, like proper education tools, and going out to these communities and trying to speak to farmers, invite them to community halls or go to their environments and trying to sort of help them understand all these things. We're also working with Alexandros on participatory methods for not exactly education, but it's like bringing people, farmers, livestock breeders, community, like communities in remote villages, working with us, helping us define the issues, not us defining the issues for them, and trying to take their voice and use it. What else? And I mean, the things that I'm saying, what I said today about the importance of technologies that are about communities being together and deciding together and designing these technologies together. I think this is a very important thing if we're going to sort of avoid these things in the future. If livestock breeders and farmers, small farmers, have a better idea and have a technology that better helps them with their problems, but we have to know their problems first and what type of technology can help them. We can reduce this killing. In Greece, I know for certain that beekeepers are very happy with, for example, electric fences. Many of them use them. They are very useful to them. Many of them use them, and it has decreased. We have sort of monitored, we have measured that it has decreased conflict between carnivores, bears, and beekeepers, like a type of technology. I'm going to try to. I'm going to write my. I cannot write my email to you. I can see. Maybe the people from EAAP can do it. If they cannot, I'm going to share. I'm writing up a slide now for you, so you can write up my email, both mine and Alexandros. Just a second. I mean, that's an invitation to anyone, of course, to everyone here, not just the person who sort of sent the question. I mean, this is us. I'm going to share my screen in a second. Hopefully now you can see my and my colleagues' emails and their names. These are our full names.
Yes, yes, we can see it.
Okay, I'm
I
going
guess
to keep it
everybody has.
there. I'm going to keep it here for a couple of minutes, and then we can take yes.
If you want, Dimitri, you can answer in the last comment that emerged. Otherwise, if there is no time, we can continue. One by Daniela, which says, but what about the cost to make these technologies affordable? Maybe work in groups like a cooperative, but education is mandatory in my region.
Yes, I think I agree. I agree. I mean, completely. Some of these technologies, like I would structure my question in three sort of branches. One of them is education is mandatory. I think I fully agree with Daniela. The second part, again, I agree with Daniela, like working in groups or communities can help reduce the cost. The third option is, which is a very good option because it helps it has other benefits too anyway. The third option that happens with farmers, for example, is if there is an expensive piece of equipment, a couple of farmers buy it and either they rent it or they rent their services to other farmers. That's the third option. I mean, technology, community, cooperative, it's one of the, education, cooperative or community, and sort of the market is the third option. But the fourth option, again, is the combination of technologies, like using using a combination of technologies, for me, that's a very good option, using technologies that are low cost with some higher cost technologies. For example, good livestock guardian dogs or good fencing with some of the tools that we are talking about today, like geofencing, like other types of tools that are that can be useful in combination with other things, like electric fencing with geofencing, or guardian dogs with sort of GPS collars on cows. I mean, combining technologies and not relying on a single technology. The fifth answer, and that's came up with interviews from technology developers, is to help technology developers design multifunctional technologies. And that's like technologies that don't do just one thing, technologies that for a livestock breeder can do many things. And that's from my discussions with technology developers is what they've been trying to do, many of them. Like, don't just develop an AI camera that can detect something, but develop something that integrates a couple of technologies that can do many things. It can let you know when an animal has fever. It can let you know where the animal is. It can let you know if the animal is moving fast. It can let you know about its heartbeat. It can let you know about a lot of things that are useful, not just for carnivores, but are useful across a wide range of functions in a ranch, in a farm, for a livestock breeder. It took me a while, but yeah, I think I answered. Education is very important. I mean, to finish off with this.
Okay, there's no other question, so I guess we can go forward with the next part, Dimitri. Dimitri, are you ready?
So we're back here. Yes. The next part of today's webinar is what we're trying to do is a workshop. I mean, the format here is a bit strict, I would say. I mean, it doesn't allow for the webinar format is a bit strict because it doesn't allow you to speak. But I think what we're trying to do here is to get an idea from you that are working with primary producers or with primary producers as your audience or clients, or maybe you are primary producers yourselves. We're trying to do this workshop called Evaluating and Adopting Emerging Technologies from the Primary Producers' Perspectives. So it's not very complex. I'm going to start sort of sharing my screen again. And my screen is going to go, ideally, is going to go to a Mentimeter screen. Hopefully you can see that now. I'm going to wait for a bit. I'm going to ask you to go to this website. I mean, you can either go through your cell phone or ideally through your laptop. It's going to be easier for you. That's what I'm saying. For me, it's the same. But if you go through your browser on your laptop or your computer, it should be easier for you. But what we're trying to do here is to do this workshop. It is easy, but I mean, a lot depends on your participation, of course. And we're doing this because we want to try to refine these functions of the technologies that we mentioned before from the perspective of the primary producers. And this is what we're looking for here, the perspective of the primary producers, not just scientists. And we think this is really important because the perspective of the primary producers is rarely captured. unless like a company or an organization that does a lot of work with many farmers, it's not easy to capture it. So we are trying to do this here. I can see that already 20 people have joined. I don't have access to how many people are in the webinar, so perhaps Federico can tell us when to stop waiting on the screen because I'm waiting for the
We
screen.
have 39 people at the moment.
Okay, so I'll wait a bit longer, then I will start. I mean, we are not nobody's forcing anyone to take part in this. We're trying to get as many opinions as possible here. And as I said, this is just one of the webinars and workshops we're trying to do because we want to have a way, we want to produce a way to make these technologies more useful for the livestock sector, let's say. This is one of the goals, how to make these technologies.
Dimitrios is
Hello.
back.
Hi, I'm back. Something happened with my connection. I don't know why. I'm here now. I mean, I'm going to refresh this Menti. Let me know if the Menti works for you. I'm going to go straight to fast. Can you see? Like my screen move? Oh, no, I'm going to start sharing my screen again.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. Yes. Apologies for this. I don't know what happened. Like,
It's okay.
it was a random,
It happens all the time.
it was a
Yeah.
random thing.
It's a
Something
common issue
happened.
with connection. Now we can see it.
Okay, so I mean, this is the structure. I'm going to go quickly through it. I mean, I'm going to frame the workshop, and then we're going to go through 4 questions, more slides, but 4 questions, and then I'm going to attempt a synthesis by revisiting the results of the Mentimeter, and then I'm going to take up some of your questions. So let me know if that works for you. If you can see everything, can you see now my screen? So this is the main question we're asking. When does a technology become a useful and fair coexistence tool for primary producers? We define these technologies as tools, infrastructures, or socio-technical practices that help primary producers detect, anticipate, prevent, evidence, coordinate, or govern human-carnivore interactions in ways that reduce risk, support livestock systems, and contribute to coexistence. I'm going to use the Mentimeter mainly today. When it's required, just use short phrases or even a couple of words. And I'm going to go straight into I'm going to skip this because we're late. I'm going to skip this. These are just the functions that I mentioned earlier. So detecting, tracking, preventing, decision-making, and coordinating among producers or communities, the same sort of ideas. So I'm looking for your answer, a short phrase or a simple word, like from a primary producer perspective. What is the most difficult part of living and working with carnivores? It's not a question that's directly related to technologies, but we're trying to find out what's the difficult part of working with carnivores. Mainly from a primary producer perspective, but it's interesting for us to see. For us, this is a way to see what the technology should do. I mean, what is the function that the technology should have to work? What should technologies actually do? Like respond with even simple words, single words, short phrases. Because this is a really interesting thing for us. You will see the results at the end. I mean, you can have multiple questions. If I set this up correctly, you should be able to put multiple questions there. But yeah, I mean, this is already really useful for us because this is what we're trying to find out. I mean, we're trying to see what we're looking at in this space, what are the problems of the farmers. So please take the time to add a couple of words there. I think at the end you can see I don't know if you see. I think you cannot see the results, but it's coming up. Like the results are already like 17 of you have responded, and it's already the results are pretty sort of interesting. What's coming up as in this word cloud that I can see in front of me. The next question, I don't know if everybody has responded, and you don't need. You can go to the next screen, I think. Like if someone hasn't responded, just let me know in the chat. If someone wants to respond and hasn't responded, let me know in the webinar chat. I will hold on for a couple of minutes. Thank you for continuing answering. It's very interesting that the first I'm going to like this is a how it's called, like when you see a movie and it's someone tells you what's happened. So the most common the most common difficult part of living with carnivores is, according to most of you, is lack of support. And that's a very, I mean, it's very good to know, I think, that this is I mean, if you can say what type of support, like those of you who answered, what do you mean when you say lack of support? Who should be supporting farmers, and in what sort of sense could be the support they need, like in terms of these technologies? So, but the next question is just an easier. I mean, you don't have to write anything. You just have to respond by saying, how useful are the following systems from a livestock perspective? So the early warning and automated detection, how useful is it? Herd and wild animal monitoring, how useful are these systems? Evidence and reporting tools, how useful are the systems? How useful are prevent mitigation and aversion systems? And how useful are, I mean, and the question here is, if they worked. I mean, some of them don't work, but if these systems worked, what would be the system that would be, what would be the usefulness of these systems from a livestock perspective? I mean, if they worked. Some of them don't work very well, but if they worked according to what they say that they should work. I mean, all these systems are the types of systems that are being developed now in the world out there. At least this is this is how we categorize them into this typology. Yeah, I mean, I can see, like, I don't know, I didn't have the chance to read the chat. I mean, to know from which sort of industry or which part of the industry most of you are involved in. But we can see here that, I mean, the most useful tool system, at least, is sort of herd and wild animal monitoring, and followed by early warning and automated detection. This is I thought, to tell you the truth, that perhaps the prevention or mitigation or aversion tools could be more higher in the rank. But it seems that sort of among you, it's like herd and animal monitoring might be more sort of important. So let's move on to the next slide. It's not about usefulness now. It's the same question, but about practicality. So if, from the livestock perspective, how practical are the systems? They might be useful, but they might be difficult to use, or they might be costly to use, or they might need a lot of labor time, or they might need a lot of different types of expertise that you do not have, or many people do not have. Like some of these tools might work perfectly, but you would need like 10 people to work on them, or you would need to be I don't know, an IT specialist to work on them, or you would need to be how practical them in practical sense, or if they can be used in this particular environments that you work in. For example, tools that need connectivity, for example, might be not very useful in very remote areas. I mean, that's a very common concern for many of those tools. Like in some areas where people sort of have livestock, especially livestock that is so moving in between summer and winter areas. In the winter areas, there might be not even just not Wi-Fi, but maybe no GPS connection. So some of these tools might be really difficult to set up. You will need to set up closed circuits for communication. You will need a lot of things to be able to use them. So the environment could be limiting, expertise could be limiting, labor time could be limiting, cost could be limiting. What would be how practical are the following sort of systems from a livestock perspective? I mean, this is a very important question, I think, like the practicality of these systems and how they can be, if the expertise is out there, for example, like all these questions. I mean, very important from this perspective. So, I mean, we have 3 questions more. So if you can sort of answer, if many of you can sort of take the time to answer, it would be great. I don't know if some of you, I don't see anyone writing in the chat. Maybe I lost some of because I lost the connection for a moment there before. I don't know if.
No. Everything is all right, Dimitri. Nothing has come up to the.
Okay, that's great. The final question is similar. I mean, if someone wants to answer a question, previous question, let me know.
Does Dimitrios has an issue or I have?
Yes, I think another connection issue.
So let's give again a minute. Currently, we have some issues with connection and with internet because many roads in Greece are under construction. So I guess that they may be related. Thank you, Laura, for your comment. Yeah, I know that almost always things pops up when it has to do with connection. Unfortunately, we're not all live in North North Europe where connection is
Here
is
again,
totally perfect.
I'm very sorry for this. I'm trying to do my best here. I don't know why this is happening, to tell you the truth. I'm going to start sharing my screen again, and hopefully we'll not have this problem again. So this is. I'm going to skip this question. No, I'm going to keep this question because it's a. I want your response here. It's to place these technologies on that. This is a scale that you have to put them on between their value for coexistence from 0 to 10 and their easiness to adopt from 0 to 10. I mean, if you can place them on this scale, like this, like GPS collar for livestock, for example, have very high coexistence value, for example, 9, but they're not very easy to adopt. For example, 2. Like if you can, like for each technology, you can place them on this map. It shouldn't be like it should be fairly easy if you can understand how this works. So all of them are. It seems like if you cannot see my screen. Like I'm going to share the screen after this. If you like, there's one more question that I think is really relevant to what we're trying to do. We're trying to place them in a box to see them in a sort of in a multi-axis in this 2-axis framework, because I can see that you are not very sort of nobody's going beyond lower than 5 on any sort of scale, but I think you can go lower than 5. I mean, I don't know, some of them might not be relevant at all to you or to the primary producers, but I think, for example, I know I don't want to prejudice you. Some of them, by speaking to farmers or speaking to people working on the carnivore sort of space, I can see that some of them are a bit not very so favored. So I'm going to go to the next slide, which is, I think, I need 1 or 2 answers from you. It should be fairly easy to respond. Like, what principle is the most important for these technologies? What should we care about? And what should be the principle that is used to build these technologies? So start from producer needs, ensure long-term funding, protect producer control over data, link technologies to fair compensation, adapt tools to livestock systems and landscapes, avoid shifting responsibility onto producers. I'm sorry. I mean, what is the most important thing from you, for you, in terms of this is just a very easy question. That's I think everybody can. I mean, it's very easy to answer. So please, take the time to answer this question. All of these things we have talked about, like costs, fair compensation, adapting tools, shifting responsibilities. I mean, this is something that we have discussed during the presentation. There's going to be another round of questions at the end. I'm just sort of so we can discuss about these things at the end. I'm going to go through your answers very quickly after we finish. Like, there's one question more, and then after I go through your, we will go through your answers, and then we can have another go at the chat, the Q&A. Please, if someone wants to send us an email, please do. We are very interested in talking to people who are developing these technologies. We're very interested in talking to people who have developed technologies, that use technologies, that think about using technologies, especially if they sort of work in the livestock carnivore interaction context. But even if not, so the last question is, small text again, please, like a very small word or a couple of words or 3 words. A technology will be acceptable only if, I mean, that's the only if it was that, only if it had this, only if it was, you know, like it would need sort of economic support, it would need practical support, local fit, trust. Someone already mentioned it. It would have to support producers rather than shift the blame or liability to them. Like all these questions that like primary producers, not just livestock farmers, livestock breeders, but farmers also. Like I hope you can answer multiple questions. I think it would be nice if you could answer them multiple times. I can say like affordable is there, control is there, transparency in there, user friendliness, simple and affordable is there, reliable, someone else. It gives something back to the producers. I mean, these are all things that some of them I hadn't thought about, I have to say, or I hadn't read about. Thank you so much for responding. I mean, this is really interesting already. So I don't think anybody is responding anymore. So I'm going to declare this small Mentimeter over, and I'm going to start sharing the screen from the beginning. Not completely the beginning. What happened? I pushed a lot of buttons here, so you can see okay. So this was the first question. What is the most difficult part of living and working with carnivores? I mean, lack of support is the main answer here. Legislation and fear are the ones that are less. I mean, the top 3, let's say: lack of support, legislation, and fear. If you can see, damages is there, but you didn't use all of you didn't use the same word, but you can see damages, predazione, but also like unheard by government, labor and exhaustion, which is linked to sort of uncertainties, family living, all these things, losses are things that you mentioned. I mean, uncertainty and unpredictability are there also, like in lack of control. This is a nice sort of box. People are still answering, I think, because it's moving. My screen is moving, so maybe you're still answering. Please do, if you feel like answering. I mean, these are all really important things that we can report. Also, if you feel like it in the chat, please mention I mean, I will try to respond to some of the questions at the end. But I think we have a nice sort of uncertainties went up there. Fear of loss and fear is sort of increased there. Like 19 out of 31 responded. I think we have a really nice cloud here that perhaps was not so clear before. At least for me, it was not so clear before. And for those of you who answered sort of lack of support, if you want, you can sort of say what you mean in the chat. Like, what do you mean lack of support? Is it a lack of support from the government, lack of support from the NGOs, lack of support for installing for living with carnivores, from subsidies? What type of support do you think is lacking? Like, for those of you who answered lack of support, I think that's a really interesting finding here. Like, the most difficult part of living with carnivores is lack of support from the government. Someone, Jose Fernandez, mentioned. I think if we can move to the next answer. Here 17 out of 31 out of 31 sort of users of this Mentimeter responded. And it's, I mean, for, let's say, tied for first place is in terms of usefulness. What's most useful is monitoring tools like GPS collars, sensors, geofencing. Yeah, geofencing, all these tools, and then followed by early warning and automated detection systems, and then sort of smart deterrence, and that can sort of prevent, mitigate, avert conflict. The less sort of useful one from this sort of sample was evidence and reporting tools. So reporting damages, reporting other types of incidents with like conflict or other types of tools that related to that. In terms of thank you everyone who's responding. I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at the screen at the Mentimeter, and I'm looking at the chat too. Thank you to everyone who's responding. In terms of practicality, if you see, there is some change. So in terms of practicality, like AI-enabled cameras, acoustic sensors fall behind mitigation support tools and smart deterrence. That's really interesting. Sort of in terms of ranking, I mean, we're not looking for absolute ranks here, absolute sort of points here, like of strongly agree. But ranking is really interesting. So they're less practical. I mean, they might be more useful, but they're less practical. I mean, less people responded here. So if you have, if you still want to respond in terms of practicality, there is some time for you to respond. And it's an interesting sort of finding here for me. People might be more familiar, I think, with GPS collar, sensors, and geofencing than. I mean, it's logical people to be more familiar with these tools, I think, in this sort of livestock or animal science environment. And in terms of fairness, only 5 sort of replied. So that's not a pretty good sample from even for us here. But so if you can reply, it would be great. But again, I mean, the same ranking follows here. In terms of fairness, both for the, I mean, in terms of fairness, if you can stay a bit here and more of you can reply, maybe. In terms of fairness, what's interesting for us is fairness to the livestock sector as a whole, I would say, but also fairness to the farmer and fairness to the community. And this fairness includes ethics, includes sort of social relations, includes who pays in scare quotes, who carries the burden of installing, of maintaining these technologies, like whose relations might change because they install these technologies, who maintains these technologies. All these questions, I think, relate to fairness. Also, issues of data relate to these technologies. So who is using the data, who has the data, who can sort of access the data, is the data secure, what type of data are needed, is it just, is there surveillance involved? Good surveillance create issues with the wider community that the farm or the breeder, that the livestock sort of farm is embedded in. All these issues that we think are really important again. So yeah, I mean, that was the answers here again. I mean, this is a relative rank, I would say. You can see what Mentimeter does here. It puts them on a grid. So no technology is on the grids, is on the low easiness and low coexistence value grid. But most of them are the, let's say, high grid on the top right. So high coexistence value and high easiness to adoption. Of course, I mean, we have to go deeper into the data to see the relative rankings here. Maybe not rank them, so rank them in a different box. But it's interesting that AI cameras and smart deterrents and AI cameras with alert systems fall within the same sort of grid. They're not very easy to adopt. So that's an interesting finding. Perhaps not many people have used them. Perhaps they're very, I don't know, perhaps they're easy to adopt. I have no idea how these things work. It seems that people think digital damage reporting is the easiest and most sort of useful. I mean, if you have them on both the easiest and the easiest to adopt, and the one with the higher coexistence value. And finally, the last question. I mean, which principle is most important? I think we have a tie here with long-term funding, training, and maintenance, starting from producer needs and adopting tools to local livestock systems and landscapes. These are the top three principles that are most important in terms of for future coexistence technologies, and this is a really useful. I think it validates also what we have been sort of saying, that there is a need for adaptation co-design with producer needs and local communities. I think this is a really important issue that we're trying to sort of bring forward as a project and as an organization. We're trying to be involved in projects that try to do this sort of co-design and co-creation of technologies or adaptation of technologies to local contexts and starting from producer needs. Many of these technologies, there are organizations out there that do this already. We will have, we will have some pretty cool outputs in the future with these sort of highlighting this type of organizations. So I think it's time for us to go to a discussion session. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and so take up some questions in the chat again. And then I will start from some people who have already asked questions in the chat. Like Daniela asked, who does really create the damage? Someone said if technology demonstrates the damage caused by wildlife. We forgot one question. Yes, we forgot one question here in the Menti. I'm going to share it again. It was a nice question. I mean, the answers were nice. So there's one final question. So a technology for coexistence would only be acceptable to primary producers if, I mean, there are, I mean, if you can, they cannot see, I cannot see the full screen either. You have to move a bit, but easiness, easy, simple, affordable, affordable again, easy to use. I mean, easiness of use, affordability, trust is there, trust and transparency is there, clarity, transparency, trust. easiness, simpleness of maintenance, and worth the effort and preventing damage. So it's if it's successful, if it's reliable, if it does the work it's supposed to be doing, if it generates consistent results. So if we can say like easiness, affordability, trust, and sort of generating results, these are the main sort of like reduces loss or labor. That's another thing that like it can do a lot of things. It doesn't have to reduce loss if it reduces labor. This is a very interesting table for me. And along, if we can see it like in combination, I think that's the useful thing in our case, to see this table, these are answers in combination with this. So if we could put them side by side, so like this table, this word cloud and the table at the end, I think it could be a really useful result to say that there is lack of support, that there is uncertainty, there is fear of loss, there is legislation that we have to prove damages. And then if we can move to the last slide, we can see that we asked in the beginning, what are the problems? And then you come up with what technology has to do, when will be acceptable at the end. So now I'm going to stop sharing the Menti. And I'm going to please add your questions in the chat. It's not easy to do a two-way interaction here. Some of you might have an answer to a question that has been asked, for example, by Daniela, Jose, or Marta, or someone who has written. But for me, if I can take, I'm not an expert on everything here. Like Daniela asks, who does really create the damage? She's referring to if really the animals are creating the damage, or is it something sort of more socio-ecological, socio-political? That's what I understand. Maybe I'm wrong. Daniela can correct me. Yes, I think I think I was correct in sort of interpreting what Daniela is asking. If it's the wildlife that causing the damage, or if it's a system that sort of creates the damages and the farmers have to bear it. I think that's a better. And the wildlife often is a scapegoat for something else that maybe is not creating the problem, but it's part of all this lack of support and fear and unpredictability systems that livestock breeders have to work with. And yeah, I don't know. I agree with Daniela. And to answer to Jericho, we are now starting to deploy these technologies. I know there are some people it doesn't matter where, but for you, in northern Greece using piloting geofencing. There's another team in central Greece piloting chemical, someone mentioned it here, chemical pheromones for deterrence. I know that there are farmers that are installing cameras with the possibility of using some type of detection. All these tasks are not new, are not easy. I'm sorry. Some of these technologies are very new, and in the context of Greece, they are not very well developed. from the survey that we have done in Europe, and I cannot share it with you because it's not published yet, the results, so I cannot share with you, but we have done a survey of if these type of technologies are being used. What I can say is that it's mainly, the technologies that are mainly being used are cameras, video cameras and camera traps, and GPS. I mean, more advanced GPS collars. I mean, that's the main technology that's being used in Europe. But the rest of them, like AI cameras or alert systems, or these are very rarely used and are still in the pilot phase, I would say. But from looking at the sort of scenery, gathering sort of the atmosphere around these technologies, I think there are many people actively developing technologies, actively piloting them with farmers at the moment. So it's not widespread, but I think there is active piloting by many teams across Europe. And I mean, Callisto is included in them, but not at the scale of being a regular use of 10% or 50% of the livestock farms. I don't know if there's any other question I missed. Now, Costanza, again, I mean, this is a difficult question for everyone. I don't have the answer, of course. I don't know if Alexandros has the answer or anyone else here. How can we convince farmers that killing the carnivores is not the best only solution? I think part of the question is education. Part of the question is demonstrating both us as I'm an NGO, but demonstrating through networks of farmers and NGOs tools that actually work and are affordable and can do things. I mean, I mentioned earlier beekeepers and electric fences. Beekeepers in Greece, especially in areas with a lot of bears, have actually taken up electric fences, paying out of their own pockets. I mean, it's not expensive because it's I'm not, perhaps you have an idea about what beekeeping is, but you keep these boxes of bees in these areas. So the cost of sort of taking these 3 or 4 wires, putting them on stakes and connecting them on is not that big and easy to do. I mean, it's fairly easy to do if you have someone helping you. So many beekeepers have taken this solution. And I think it reduces conflict. And we have sort of data to show that beekeepers see the conflict, let's say, the human-wildlife conflict, in a more relaxed manner, I think. I think that's, they have, in Greece at least, we have the data that show this. They're not as sort of, how can I put it, as, they don't see wildlife as being as much of a problem as other primary producers do, I would say. I don't know if there is anything else. I didn't ask. I didn't sort of try to reply. If anybody wants to hear from us, or if anybody wants to talk to us, I cannot share I cannot write on my name on the chat, my email on the chat, but I shared it earlier. If there are any more questions, please write them in the chat. We have sort of 5 minutes more. We would be happy to hear from you. So if there's nothing else, I think I'm going to thank everyone for being here, for participating in the Mentimeter, for chatting with us on the webinar chat. I'm going to thank EAAP, I'm going to thank Danilo, I'm going to thank Federico. We are going to thank me, Alexandros, and Callisto. Without your help, this wouldn't be possible. I hope you found something useful in today's webinar and workshop. Again, let us know if you need anything more from us. I shared my emails. Thank you very much for being here. See you soon, hopefully, in another situation in person.
Thank you, Dimitrios. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here today. Just let me be very quick, and I would like also to thank you all. As I said, just to repeat, this webinar took place between Callisto and the EAAP in context of co-creating Coexistence, NEU Horizon project. Thank you, everyone, for being here today and for your contribution. Dimitrios, thank you very much for your presentation. You were excellent. Nothing more to add. I think we're okay. Federico and Danilo will also be in contact for some issues with the webinar. I don't have anything else to add. Dimitri, are you okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Alexandros.
Okay.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.